Bienvenidos y bienvenidas. Welcome to PNN, KXU Poor People's Radio, Revolutionary Radio at 96.1 on the dial, in East Oakland, streaming live at www.poormagazine.org/radio. This is your co-host Muteado Silencio, con voces de migrantes en resistencia, and formerly household member of the Poor Poets Project, in studio with fellow formerly houseless poor poet and poverty scholar Tiny, and youth poverty scholar Tiburcio on the ones and twos.
They stealing indigenous babies again, locking them up in their deadly pig pens, splattering trauma on their innocent heads, promoting terror, because that's what they do. The orange monster and his sick friends, instead of face the Epstein rape files again. They stealing it and putting them in cages. They stealing babies and putting them in cages while the rest of America hides their eyes in these capitalized digital pages. And the perpetrators are spurred on with their sick, racist rages. Hey, this is PNN, not CNN, people. Welcome to Poor People's Revolutionary Radio, where the truth is always unsold, unpot, unpimped, unplayed, every day in a stolen, occupied America KKK.
From the occupied Dakotas lands to Yelamu, Minneapolis to La Misión, settler terror continues and organized resistance is powerful. On today's Poor People's Radio broadcast, we begin with true warriors, Dogtown Joe and Orange, speaking about upcoming prayer vigil for relatives that we have lost through the violence of ICE and polarized wars. Then onto local politics war on the poor people right here in Occupy Yelamu, with violent sweeps every day and violent cuts to the services that are supposed to support poor and houseless people in this settler town. And then some of the powerful prayers from the historic opening ceremonies of Onfunes Yelamu, from the first to the launch us in a good way. Some of the powerful resistance of warriors comrades in Dakota or Wichita lands no to ICE.
Not belong to this property at all. We do not support ICE. Get off of our property. Bye. 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 Don't come back either. Bye. Bye.
Do you work here?
Yeah, I do.
You guys kicked him out?
Yeah,
What's your opinion on it? Why'd you kick him out?
because I wanted to.
Okay.
We don't support ICE and nobody here does. And neither do I.
And so he's not allowed service here.
Nope. We don't support ICE.
Commander Bavino, is it legal to deny service to federal agents?
Oh, we know that so many of our relative warrior comrades are on those occupied streets of Dakota and Ojibwe lands, including First Nations relatives who have been caught up in this current police and ICE snare of the settler terror. We also just want to remind relatives that this system and this occupied land has been killing Black and Brown and Indigenous bodies from the beginning of the theft of Turtle Island. So let's not ever get that twisted. But now it's whole scale coming at us, whether we in the street, whether we in our homes, whether we anywhere. And also, to be real, they kill and they own, right? Some so-called person having the right to carry or whatever, all that mess. And yeah, so you already know the Orange Monster and this particular iteration of the settler government is violent and genocidal, and we are here to resist that every day in every way that we can as poor and houseless, indigenous and Black and brown peoples, as we always do. So having said that, I have the blessing of bringing in fellow warriors from F12 Unity. Before we do that, I just want to lift up that right here in the bay, in the occupied bay of Yelamu and Uchun and beyond, we have if you can bring up those other flyers, we have a couple events coming up to honor our relatives who have been murdered by these settler terrorists. Tonight, if you can scroll down a little bit, there's one that is led by Indigenous peoples in the Bay, and it's going to be at the Corp Rape location of Target. Again, recognizing that these First Peoples have already dealt with this genocide. That'll be tonight, Tuesday at 6 p.m. There'll also be something else tomorrow at between 4:30 and 6:30, which we'll try to get information for you guys, but it's also over in Uchun. And then this Friday is a powerful vigil for all our relatives who've been murdered by this genocide. And that's why we're blessed to bring in our relatives from F12 Unity. Welcome, Dog Time Drew and Mike. What's up?
Hey, good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Welcome
morning,
back
good morning,
to
everybody. I
Corporate
appreciate you.
Radio. Yeah. So maybe we can start with either one of you about a little bit for listeners and viewers who just kind of need a little framework. You know, this didn't start right with the Orange Monster. And both of you and F12 Unity and all of the work that you all do is about lifting up relatives who have been murdered by this police and ICE genocide that just was there before. So I wondered if you wanted to just kind of give some of that to listeners and viewers, relatives.
Well, I would say it's just a continuation of the homogenization that these pilgrims started 450 years ago. And they're just picking up where their ancestors left off. As soon as they made it to California, they've been eroding away the indigenous people, and now they have reset their sights on eliminating people with melanin and people indigenous to America and people of color that aren't indigenous to America. Because I spent the last couple of days going through all of the names of everyone that has been killed in ICE detention and or by like ICE detainers, and I did not come across a single white name, and that's indicative of what their agenda is to eliminate Black, brown, and there's actually a lot of Asian and Arab and African people being targeted and eliminated through this process. So it's just a continuation of the homogenization that white supremacy is attempting to finish it in the United States.
That part. Mike, did
100%.
you
I
want to add
agree.
anything? Yeah. do you
Yeah,
want to
I
add
would say
anything?
that. Yeah, we're seeing a remix of it. It's colonization 2026. We're seeing everybody affected by it, and we are navigating and staying afloat from this just like technological consumerism and all this entertainment. And we're actually seeing through it all that we all are being affected, and it's hitting us all. And we're seeing the connection, the intersectionality of this right now, front and center. So we just think it's imperative to show how it's affecting all of us.
Mhm.
Ashe. So maybe let's talk about this beautiful vigil that we're talking about and the need for this prayer and this humility also with our ancestors. Go ahead, relatives, whatever you want to say.
Right on. Well, going right off of what Mike said is that it's at a point where it's impacting all groups. Like they tried to frame it initially as like segregating from the border and acting like this was a target against Latinos, and then as if nobody else were to be concerned. But first off, if you have a compassionate heart and you recognize that these are borders made by white supremacy, then you are already vigilant to these initiatives. However, now that the siege is underway and bodies are being locked up, bodies are being sent away, bodies are being left dead in the street, we're realizing that their scope isn't just relegated to immigrants. It's impacting the entire nation, entire community. And Minneapolis is indicative of this, because in Minneapolis, they're killing brown people, they're killing women, they're killing white people, they also killed a black child by way of manslaughter from their tear gas bombs. And so anybody that thought that they were absolved to this siege, they're not. Every demographic is represented in the tyranny and terror that these ICE people are committing. And so we're trying to pay remembrance to these people, acknowledgement of their lost souls, recognizing San Francisco or Bay Area solidarity with Minneapolis, and just recognizing that it's all encompassing. Go for it, Mike.
And yeah, I think it's imperative that I know it's a double-edged sword with technology, but to harness this to get out in the real world and to meet with ourselves so we can regulate as a community outside of these corporate constructs and outside of their narrative of binaries online of we're all monsters, this is all happening, and it's due process that what's happening is. So I think it's just really important. There's always been resistance. The Bay has always showed up to everything that's going on. And I implore you to please take the time out of your day to meet with your community members and recharge with us, to regroup with us, to share space so we can just honor those that have been lost and recharge for what's to come. Most definitely.
Also, I just wanted to add, it's not accidental, at least in my mind, and I know as you relatives, that this vigil that we are organizing is on the site of the genocidal murder of Alex Nieto, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was a murder of gentrification, which is an extension of colonization. Let's not get that twisted, right? And for all of our Black and Brown and Indigenous relatives all across Turtle Island who've been suffering from this polarized terror, right? This is nothing new. So again, making those connections is extremely powerful. I know that y'all both have been in the streets on all of those polarized terror murders. I don't know if you want to add anything about that.
Well, I mean, it's almost incidental at this point. There's very little staging opportunity in historically Black and brown communities where you can't say somebody died 100, 200 feet away from here from the police. If we did it in the Mission, which we also considered, there would have been several bodies that we would have to acknowledge there. So yeah, we'll be on Bernal Hill, where we'll definitely pay acknowledgement to Alex Nieto and his loss there, as gentrification pushed brown people out and criminalize the presence of brown people in favor of, now we have a bunch of neo-colonists occupying San Francisco, Bernal Hill. It's all just white yuppies now.
Yeah. What did you?
Yeah.
Well, just thank you, you guys, and again for standing up, for being in the community, remembering these fallen warriors, through the system. Again, we also know the lucrative business, with geo groups. Again, this is not solely about immigration, right? This is about dollar signs. We know there's a lot of private detention centers opening up all over the U.S. And again, if it was about our folks being here illegal, we're indigenous people to this land, they would release people and send them back home, right? But they keeping them, they're making money off of people, off of children. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that, Dr. Pro, in the business aspect of what's happening?
I honestly would love to. I've personally spent time in a privately owned prison, and you recognize how it incentivizes the population of prisoners, because who is building these prisons, and every time you have to build a prison, there's no government guy that comes out and erects the prison. They contract that out to developers and real estate people, and then there's private contractors that accept these contracts on behalf of the government, and then they realize my building, my institution sustained solely on the incoming of prisoners. So there's a demand for, or there's a quota to have X amount of prisoners, and if that were to lack, then there will be lobbyists and people that will try to lube the gears to make sure prisoners are reoccurring, and that the cycle keeps going so that they can continue getting their money from the government. Same like Elon would do a bunch of dumb stuff to try to ensure that him and his brand are collecting big incentives and income from the government. They're just all exploiting our tax money to oppress us and uplift themselves.
Mike, you want to add anything?
Yeah, definitely the intersections of all this, right? They want to compartmentalize this. I appreciate you mentioning that from everything from education to housing to the unhoused community to just like the immigration, police force, it's all separated in theory, but it's all connected. So I think it's imperative for us to connect those dots right now and even look at what's happening, as you mentioned, is Stop Cop City, right? They're building it around us. If we look at the tech cities as well as Solano County with California Forever, they're trying to merge with the military and surveil and build a new system around us. It's the same thing. And I think as we connect the dots and show what's happening on that end of how they're trying to get us, it's imperative that we do the other side as well, of all these different streams of resistance, that we lead to a river of revolutionary optimism, and we connect the dots on our side as well. But yes.
I also think it's it's really causing me grief, and it's hard to even like talk about it logically without, so I just want to name that right now. I'm in grief, rage, grief. But I want to name that as we inviting you on today, we're going to be moving to our other topic, which is the eradication of all the budget in occupied Yelamu for poor people services, like literally millions of dollars just immediately wiped out by this certain corporate mayor, wealth hoarder that you've got now, right? And they're absolutely connected. You're right, Mike. And these pieces must be connected. Let's not talk about the corporate, gentrification of the whole city of Frisco without talking about the ways that impacts our poor people's lives and bodies. Houseless people don't even look houseless and walk down the street in Frisco. They're going to take everything, and then they're going to put you in a reset center, and then they're going to, which really is just a pathway to the jail. So they are all connected. And I wanted to just go back a little step because you brought up all the different communities that are being impacted. There are relatives from the continent known as Somalia that are now, they're beginning their new launch on in a territory that the settlers call Maine. I want to lift up that there are already relatives, and it's interesting to me because a lot of those kidnaps and abductions are quiet as kept. You're not even hearing about them. You're not even really seeing them. And I'm interested too around that, the criminalization of Blackness, and even in movement spaces. And, just as we're closing down, I wondered if you want to say anything about that, Mike or Doc.
Well, anti-Blackness isn't solely relegated to the right or those that are explicitly embracing of white supremacy. There's anti-Blackness in pretty much every space you go, including leftist spaces. So it's obviously like a trend, and it's obviously much present, but I think it's imperative that we start to kind of recognize mechanisms that degrade the presence of Black self-determination, even in leftist spaces. So it's just something to be very conscious of.
It's inherent. It's bred in us from school all the way up to our jobs to, it's just calling out everything that's going on. And the historical playbook is there's always a boogeyman. The colonial
Mm,
apparatus will always make every single one of us during each generation the boogeyman, while they economically and policy driven on the other end exploit that end. So
mm,
create the boogeyman, exploit, codify, transfer. So at the end of the day, we've seen this, and I think what's beautiful is how I appreciate you sharing the space like this in the digital world is we can create this message, connect those dots, bring these rivers together to show what's going on and show that, hey, we get it. It's here. It's the
Ashe.
same playbook. We're just seeing it and now we can talk about it versus just hearing about it. Make our own media, make our own impact, get outside of this and bring people in the real world and connect the dots.
Mm,
Also, just quickly again, thank you guys for taking part in organizing this vigil. Also, want to say, a lot of the times, which we try to undo here at Poor, this whole concept of bringing ceremony. We know that individuals, and it brings people from different faith, spirituality, and again, sometimes in this activist movement, we don't move with prayer, with vigils, with ceremony that brings different people together that have different ways of thinking and practicing spirituality. But for us, as Sport Magazine and Homefulness, we know this is important. As indigenous people, we have always have our ceremonies, our vigils in our own ways. Can you guys speak about the importance about, bringing that to some of these activism movements and spaces?
Go for it, Mike.
Yeah, I just want to shout out to one of my to a speaker I saw a couple years back that says honor your rage. I always run on 1,000 miles an hour, and when they talk about like to sustain ourselves and fill our cups so we can be here for the long run, I was on that operation just crash out, but we need everybody here. And in honoring yourselves, honoring these spaces, honoring indigenous practices, that's how we're going to sustain ourselves. That is so much needed, and I've never been modeled that. Right? I was growing up in a colonial apparatus of like Catholicism and the churches and stuff, and then I realized that who am I nourishing? How am I nourishing myself? And then if I'm in these streets going 1,000 miles an hour, I'm going to burn out. And you have modeled. And I just want to say I appreciate y'all because throughout all this resistance, y'all have set that precedent. You set that platform, and I'm getting healed daily. And I'm remembering I'm getting my download daily of what's really going down and how we can sustain ourselves. So it's so necessary. We need you. I know you feel powerless. I know this feels crazy, but at the end of the day, we're going to get through it together like we always have. There's always been resistance.
oh, beautiful. Doug or Mike, do you want to tell us what's happening on Friday? Just give a landscape and also to let relatives know we will be bringing our prayer in the form of danza. And also, as we say at Poor, the revolution will not be melted in a pot, whether you pray to a church or you pray in Mama Earth. Bring that spirit. But go ahead, relatives, tell us what's happening on Friday.
Start it off, G.
We're showing up. We're showing up. We're setting the ground. You know what I mean? We want it to be interactive. We're calling on the community members. Everybody plays a part. Educators, anybody, chefs, cooks, activists, whatever you identify as. This is a community space that we're bringing together. This isn't just sit and be passive by. We're doing this together organically. We're healing. We're setting precedent with prayer, foundation, and we're getting it outside of this corporate construct of, we got something for you to hear. Nah, we're setting the space for us as a community.
We're
Mm,
we're um we're all like, if you have a compassionate heart and if you've been outside, we're all deeply messed up. And like as Monday came in or as Sunday rolled out, like Saturday I was checked out. Sunday night I had to come to terms with reality in the evening. And it's just like we can all suffer in isolation and be disconnected from each other, or we can reorient, come together, pay respect to these martyrs and these people that lost their souls, and also as a resistance community in the Bay Area, show historic solidarity with Minneapolis. We were there for them during George Floyd, and we will be here. We are still here for them during this ICE siege that they're incurring and the lives they're losing. Baby Jackson and Renee Good and Alex Preddy, they are present with us as well. And so if you feel any impact from those losses and the terror that the community of Minneapolis is going through, and all of the others that are being detained and caged and terrorized and killed by this administration's ICE siege, then please come. This is a space where you will be among people that have common love and compassion and interest in ending the terror that we're all witnessing together.
Oh, that's beautiful. I don't know if Mike or Dog, if you want to share a couple lines of some of your warrior poetry with listeners and viewers as we close
Go
out.
ahead, dog.
You know what? The best I could do is direct you to my last post, because I would, after seeing Alex Pretty executed, I saw myself. He's a white man. I saw myself, because if I were in that position, I wouldn't do a single thing different. And I know I could speak on behalf of Brother Mike. He wouldn't do a single thing different. We are in California, where we're not permitted to carry guns, but me and Mike see each other in the street. We both have knives on us, and police can make the same presumption of threat for that reason. However, despite me and Mike will be outside with our cameras documenting their terror, and God forbid they assault a woman in our presence, we will enact as a reflex. This is not even a choice for men like us. It's a natural reflex to be defensive of the women in our community. And we just seen that even a well-doing white man will be shot in his back. He will be disarmed and shot in his back for doing what occurs naturally to Samaritans. And so if that can happen to a white man, look at me, look at Mike, look at you guys. That they're setting a precedence that we're all vulnerable to their fascism. They're doing a Nazi style fascism siege right now. And so on Saturday, I was sitting in the shower, I'm like teared up. I'm like, just flush with coming to terms with this reality. And I couldn't express myself. I was done typing. I was done talking. It was just rhymes that were just pouring out of my brain, and I just put it into a poem. I posted it, and you know what? I haven't listened to it since Saturday. I don't remember a single line from that poem, man. It just was a momentarily burst of expression. So it's there, but I don't remember any of it, to be honest with you right now.
It's powerful, man.
It's all good. I think sometimes, I think for you, for all poets, and for me, I'll speak for myself. I write poetry so I don't scream. It's the only way I can get through a day sometimes after all this ish that we've seen. So thank you for that work. Thank you for that walk, and thank you for that grief. F12 Unity, we all have nothing but
Yes,
love.
thank you.
Nothing but love, nothing but
Gracias por
respect,
compartir.
and urge relatives to come out on Friday. It's going to be, we're gathering at 5 p.m. Ceremony is going to start at 6 on Bernal Hill, aka Alex Nieto Hill. It's at the end of Folsom, I think. If you just keep driving up, we'll bring the flyer up again, and join us in love and humility and prayer for Mother Earth and all of her relations. Thank you, family. We will talk to you very
Thank you,
soon.
Mike.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
dog.
Appreciate
Thank you,
y'all. See you
guys.
on Friday.
All
One
right.
love.
You're listening and viewing Poor People's Radio. That's PNN, not CNN, people. Poor People's Revolutionary Radio, where us poor and houseless, indigenous, black and brown peoples are liberating these airwaves, only because of the medicine of homefulness, a homeless people solution, homelessness that is not controlled by the system, by the corporate channels, by any, you know, controlling narrative that attempts to hide the truth or obfuscate the reality that we are dealing with, which is absolutely in the middle of genocide of indigenous peoples from the other side of these false borders, to poor people right here right? And we often say land back, Sudan back, black land, Kashmir back,
Oh,
and right here back. Let's not get it twisted. And so much love also to our relatives from the occupied states of Palestine who already have been dealing with this same violent insanity every day of their resistance lives on their own indigenous lands. Having said that, is our sister in the room? I want to start with a little bit before we switch gears here and turn our attention to the violent war on the poor, to the violence of taking everything from us. We already don't have anything when we're houseless on the street. But don't try to be houseless in so-called Frisco, occupied Yalamu, because just for walking while houseless, you could face arrest. If you see relatives on the street with no tent, maybe they have a belonging or a jacket or two. That's because that's been taken from them in the violence of sweeping humans like we're trash. On Saturday, we had the blessing and the power as Poor and Houseless people of launching a poor and homeless people solution to homelessness we call homefulness. And so before we begin the journey through the sorrow with one of our longtime beautiful sister and warriors, Junebug, we're going to show a little bit from that ceremony,
Junebug.
who was there with us, of course, in taking back that stolen land. Thanks to wealth hoarders who radically redistribute to us poor folks who don't put together, we are spiritually and legally unselling another small part of Mother Earth.
Welcome everybody to the Homefulness, not one, not two, not three, but number 4. We're all the formerly houses, now Homeful residents of Homefulness One, a homeless people's solution to homelessness, happening right now in Deep East Wachun, Oakland, currently housing 25 houseless youth, adults, and elders. Homefulness. Homefulness comes from a dream, a demand for shelter, necessities for a roof over your head. This was a vision of Mama D and Tiny and so many other poverty scholars. So this is, homelessness is our problem. Homefulness is the solution.
Come on, Auntie.
So in 1966, Huey Newton and Bobby Seale put together 10 points of demand. Now, number 10 is the one that directly reflects what homefulness is. Because we want land, we want bread, we want housing, we want education, we want clothing, we want justice and peace. Not only to survive, but to thrive. And homefulness provides all of these. Welcome everybody to the Homefulness.
So we're gonna listen to one of our powerful prayer warriors. I want to name that as poor and houseless people from all across Mama Earth, none of us believe that we own Mother Earth, right? That's a colonial lie.
Yes.
That's been sold and told.
Right.
So we have the blessing also in this movement to always ask permission and protocol from First Nations people of this land. In that protocol and that prayer, we need to make sure that as we're unselling Mother Earth, we're making sure that the right relatives who already were taking care of all of Turtle Island are now positioned in the space and the place where they will be stewarding. That is part of what we do with what we call the liberation easement which is a never before created document that we did with Sustainable Economies Law Center. It was a vision I had of how do you insert the concept of decommodification into the settler colonial legal documents. So we're going to hear from Greg, but first I want to bring in our beautiful sister Junebug, because the war on the poor is in full effect from Frisco to Oakland and the Philippines and Iraq, but now the soldiers are anti-social workers and politricksters creating deadly legislations and contracts. Junebug, welcome back to Poor People's Radio, family. Can we hear you?
Can,
Uh-oh,
can she hear us?
we can't hear you. She can't hear us. Say, hold on a sec.
Can you hear us?
We're having technical
Can
difficulties.
you hear us, Junebug?
Welcome to Poor Magazine, where we trying to figure out all these ones and twos. And nephew T-Boo is.
Hello. I don't
There
know
we
if
go.
anybody can hear
There you
me.
go.
I
There you
can't
go.
hear
Wrap
you
that.
at all.
Oh,
She can't hear us.
For some reason, I cannot hear you. One minute I hear you, next minute I can't hear you.
Do you
Hello,
have...
hello.
Hold on. We're trying to figure this out. Can you send her a message?
Hello?
Or I'll send her a message. Hold on.
I cannot. That's crazy. Oh my God.
So
Let's
did
Is
she...
that microphone on?
Settings, audio.
Right. Can you hear us?
All right, let's start.
Can you hear us?
Coming back. Hello, can you hear me now? I can't
Yeah.
hear you.
Can you hear us?
Oh my God.
Hold on, family. On the digital
Yes,
streets,
but
'cause
I
Junebug's
can't
knowledge
hear
is
you
power,
guys at
but
all.
we might
Change the microphone, like, just reset it. Hey, Junebug. You there? Oh, no, she's not there. No, she is.
maybe she get on and come back.
Ah, that might work.
Get off and
Hear you
Can
now.
can you hear us? Yeah,
Yeah.
you can hear us now.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. It's an active spirit. Okay. Wow, JB, what's up? Love you and welcome back to Poor People's
Yes.
Radio.
Thank you for having me here, Poverty Scholar, born and raised in Frisco, the 415. Sorry about that technical difficulty. It was like sound on, sound off, but we got through it. I'm happy to get through it. I come from the digital divide, so even to be able to be here and do something like this, of this magnitude, on a social media level, to hopefully reach more and more people, to be in solidarity as we combat against the war on the poor in SF. I was listening earlier to your show, and I really liked what I don't know who that person was, but I loved how they were talking about poetry, and I definitely believe that we turn our pain into poetry, that we use our poetry to combat injustice, and we are in a serious crisis in San Francisco. We have ghettoization to gentrification to genocide. And the attack on the unhoused is real, the war on the poor in SF, the criminalization of homelessness, the mass arrest. It's more about the optics over people. Does it look like the pretty SF postcard? Nonprofits are struggling to stay afloat and to be able to continue to provide support and to break those barriers that are systemic and that prevent a lot of our folks, including myself, to be able to even, maintain a roof, to even maintain a meal, to maintain happiness in your life. That's real.
Can you, and we don't have a lot of time, but I want to make sure that your powerful poverty scholarship is heard. And I wanted you to tell listeners and viewers what's happening with one of the beautiful movements that you support and work with, City Vitals, which is a low bar entry for houseless relatives in that occupied town. Tell us about it, JB. What's happening?
Well, I just, right before I get into that, because it speaks to the nonprofits struggling in San Francisco, kind of going into what we're talking about when we talk about the war on the poor and the attack. we're looking at is definitely Nazi ideology, Nazi behavior. If people realize, when you start looking at different things that happen, like when you track that every time you go to the store, more and more stuff are locked up. When you get on the bus and you're asked to see if you paid that little bit of fare, and if not, you get slapped with a ticket, you get kicked off the bus. Some those type of practices are ways that that Nazi ideology creeps into our communities and into our society, into our families, and it's very important that we take a look at how can we always constantly break that pipeline, break that break that ideology, because it's killing us all. So with that being said, San Francisco City Vitals is a San Francisco-based nonprofit, and we serve the unhoused and medically complex residents through humanizing. We do a relationship-based, community-rooted care. Our work is driven by community health workers. I'm a community health worker. I became one officially, even though a lot of us, I know you can relate, been doing community health work before the certificate. But I come from the very same communities I get to serve, and at San Francisco City Vitals, they value the lived experience. It's more valued than you coming in and saying you got a degree from social work, and that's what I love about is that each and every one of my coworkers, we come from lived experience. We serving our community. It's not just about our folks that come through the door, but it's also about the folks that don't even make it to the door. And so we're grounded in lived experience. We value that like a bachelor's degree, like a master's, right? And
Wow.
the vision is to empower and nurture the abilities of all people. We value life. We value our human impact on each other. And so some of the things that we've done so far here in San Francisco is we supported 1,000 plus San Francisco residents that have experiencing homelessness, chronic health conditions, and repeated disruptions across systems. So sometimes the systems that are very in place that are supposed to help and our community is trying to navigate actually also become problematic and also can practice a lot of discriminatory practices. So we work alongside people whose lives do not fit neatly into programs, who do neatly fit into appointments or timelines. Kind of goes back to the poem that Tiny did on Yulamu and Homefulness on Saturday. How clean does it gotta be? I love that. Brought me to tears every time you do that, because it is so true and what that speaks to. You know, if you don't fit this certain criteria, are you gonna get accepted? So how do we do this work, right? Because we talked about who do we show up for, We basically provide a care model that's health worker led and lived experience. So by that, we're informed. And then what we do is we will work alongside people who face the greatest barriers to care and stabilization. And we basically do we basically do a lot of like system navigation. We go with a lot of times, let me back up a little bit. A lot of times in the 9 to 5 scope of in the system in terms of housing or healthcare, you may get the resource, like I was born into the system as a client. So like if I get the resource, then I may have to go find where the place is and try to figure this out. What we do is we go with our folks. We go with you. We go all the way. Right? And that's very important. Because sometimes folks can, by the time you get to the place you need to be, you forget what the fuck you gotta say, excuse my language. You're, disoriented. You haven't maybe slept the night before. I mean, we deal with folks who sleep on the street. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all need someone who believes in our full potential, right? Who's gonna be with us on the journey. And that's very important. Who's gonna really help. It's not just giving the resource, but it's doing the warm handoff. It's going all the way on the journey. And that's one of the things we use our lived experience too, because if we've used that same resource that we're sharing with the client, it's like we're be able to help navigate that situation. You know, okay, you're going to need to make sure you have these documents. You're going to make sure you need to say it like this, you know, otherwise they may not understand the need of what you're asking for, you know. So it's also preparing folks and how to communicate and articulate our situations in these systems that are once again having barriers in place. So by us being community health workers with direct, like with real lived experience, a lot of us have experienced homelessness. So like most of my coworkers have been homeless as well and unhoused. So there's this level of we understand in a deep way, and then it helps us to kind of help the other to understand how to navigate that very system that can be very difficult. And so we
we have about 2 minutes left, hon. So
Okay.
what's
Sorry.
happening? 'Cause also,
So
don't be
it's-
sorry. This is so important, and I
Yes.
hope professionals, air quotes, are
Yes.
listening to JB,
Man.
because care without poverty scholarship is not care of poor people's
Exactly.
bodies. But
Exactly.
keep going, babe. Keep
Thank
going.
you, Jumba.
Thank you.
And we also are we do support people that are affected by overdose crises. We're helping people navigate those healthcare, getting those benefits, navigating through social services. We are the bridge, truly are. And we are a consistent presence that's rooted in trust, cultural humility, and respect. We don't look down on our folks. We get it. We understand. And it's very sad that we're facing possibly having to face some type of closure. We're going to do our best to try to stay open, SF City Vitals, to continue to be of service to the community. What that will look like may be different than what it looks like now. And that's really sad because we have really made an impact in our community. And we have actually strengthened the healthcare for over 400 people. We have housed 180 people. Have reduced isolation because we have groups at nighttime, where a lot of places our groups are during the daytime. And I want to be also kind of want to really say something, because I can go over all the wonderful things we do and all the, and you know, blah 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 blah, right? Which is awesome. I'll shoot you the one pager. But 2 points that I really want to make is that services like us are vital because we go beyond the 9 to 5. We hear people say, meet
Right.
people where they're at, meet people where they're at. Well, you can't meet people where they're at when the crisis is like 24/7. So we are 24/7, actually. We have community health workers that will meet folks in the alley at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, go above and beyond. And a lot of our community folks like feel very safe. We're and at night we're open with programs.
Ashe.
But
Wow.
very shame that and it's terrible that we're facing having to figure out how to stay open and be able to continue to do this wonderful service.
Why are they cutting your budget? Because we
So-
have heard that the San Francisco mayor is cutting a bunch of budgets from, you know, grassroots organizations and people doing really good work.
Well, I would say that it's unfortunate some nonprofits are always struggling to try to make ends meet with funding. With our nonprofit, I can't go into too much details in some parts of that, but basically, we are an organization that, because we also do healthcare navigating and things like that, we're just facing possible closure in that aspect, and we just want to make sure that we can stay open. So the one
Oh, gotcha.
I have to close it up, hon. Do you want to tell us in the next
Yeah.
30 seconds? No, go ahead.
stay open is we're having our community members do testimonials. We're reaching out to board of supervisors. So we need legislative like advocacy to say this is a wonderful organization. You know, it's vital to our San Francisco community, to our most vulnerable folks in our city. Please keep us open so we can continue to do the work. So thank you so much.
Oh,
And
thank
we're
you,
not
Thank you,
JB.
Jumba.
asking for funding, you know, from the city. We're really just asking for support to back us up, you know, within the healthcare system to say, hey, we need this organization to stay
For
open to
reals, man.
continue
Oh,
to do the work that you're not going to do the work from your desk in a 9 to 5.
that part.
Right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
JB. We
Junebug.
love you. Junebug is a crucial member of Poor Magazine, a long time, Mama D's other daughter, and a co-founder of Homefulness, Yulamu and Uchun,
Super baby
and
mama.
Decolonize Academy, and a welfare queen like I and Lori and all of the on the scene. Thank you, JB. We love
All right,
you.
JB.
All right,
Zumba.
we'll talk to you soon. You're listening and viewing Poor People's Radio. That's PNN, not CNN. We do not hide the truth behind corporate commercial lies or control. And we're blessed to have another warrior in the streets, with a powerful community movement that we've been working with forever, has kept Poor Magazine alive many times, in our ghetto lives when we don't even had a nickel to buy a cup of coffee with. Coalition on Homelessness, on the street every day doing the work. Welcome, Lucas. Welcome back to Poor People's Radio.
Hi, thank you, Tiny, for having me.
For sure, for sure. Can you tell listeners and viewers what's happening right now to our relatives trying to survive on these streets in Yalamu, and what organizations are facing?
Yeah, so I mean, Junebug laid out it really well as well. Um, the mayor is both trying to consolidate control. Well, he's trying to consolidate control in all aspects. So they're rewriting the city charter. They're gutting a bunch of the citizen commissions. They're trying to wrench away money and influence from nonprofits that are doing really good work, like SF City Vitals, like Harm Reduction Therapy Center, like the Gubbio Project, other really, I think what sets them apart are it's nonprofits that center the dignity and respect of homeless people on the streets, and they really cater to their needs rather than whatever prescriptive kind of ideals and the thoughts of the Lurie administration, of this mayor's administration, that no, it needs to be carceral, it needs to be infantilizing, it needs to be paternalistic care. And it's like, that's no, like we need to be serving the people where they're at. We need to be serving people with dignity. We need to be, again, divesting away from the failed models of sweeps, the failed models of criminalization, everything. And we need to be centering community care. And the nonprofits that do it, that a lot of unhoused people actually do trust and love, like SF City Vitals, are not only being defunded, some of them are disappearing. I mean, Vanguard lost their space on 6th Street. Like, it is really devastating, and they're being replaced by the likes of Salvation Army and other nonprofits that are a lot more, I'm sure y'all know. They're bad.
Starvation Army, you mean? Yeah, exactly.
They're really rough, and like a lot of carceral, cruel-minded, it's just large bureaucracies that unfortunately profit, literally, even though they're nonprofits, from the exploitation of the people they claim to serve. And so what's happening on our streets is that Lurie is well, I want to punch him where I think it hurts the most for him, which is that he's not doing anything new. They're just trying to, construct the fact that they're doing something new, and this is so different from London Breed. Because I think his weakness is his comparison to London Breed, that this is a bunch of uncreative rewriting, basically, of already failed policies. So it's a lot of sweeps, and what that looks like is he's creating what I've been calling a public panopticon. This, at any moment on the street, you're surveyed, whether that be by an actual cop camera, whether that be a private camera that's shared to the cops, whether that be by a citizen who's in a house who's writing a report about, what they perceive to be a homeless body in front of their business, in front of their house. And then immediately, like in relative terms to city government bureaucracy, within 24 hours, you'll have a cop respond, and not just one cop, it'll be 4 cops and DPW laborers with them to clear out people's stuff. And what this has gotten us to is the fact that there are no homeless communities in San Francisco anymore. They're scattered. They're not, of course, there's always going to be continued endemic community, which is great. And that shows the power of the people against this, powerful machine and destructive, militarized police. But there are no encampments anymore in San Francisco. If you see a tent, it's, you know, it's only been there at most since like late at night, and it's gone by early morning. And if you're found with a tent, you're approached by a bunch of cops, DPW workers, and literally people are told you either give up everything you own and you walk away, or you go to jail.
Yeah.
And these folks have been, you know, jail's a waste of time. You know, obviously it's just they get, you know, tossed in, tossed out, but it wastes days upon days upon days. So people leave everything they own. And this is illegal. It's an illegal practice. We tried to do our lawsuit. We have this settlement. We're trying, you know, we tried that angle, but Tiny, it's bad. It's really bad for folks. And
Yeah.
you know, I'm hearing from, you know, houseless women on the street who are not safe, who, you know, they've had all of their survival gear taken.
Yeah.
They have their safety and their, you know, protective, like, you know, literal, like house, their tent taken from them. And it's just in every category, you know, queer violence and, you know, gendered-based violence, and, you know, black and brown, you know, folks are being brutalized by cops way more. It's just, it is a really bad sense of kind of time now. And I'll just end with, what's really scary is just seeing the kind of pride that a lot of housed people take in, like, filing these sorts of complaints and filing these, and like anger if that's not, you know, if they don't see this, it's almost this masochism, you know, of wanting to see this cruelty exacted upon people and punishing, electorally punishing people if that cruelty is not kind of seen to a degree that they think is appropriate. And it's like, oh my goodness.
So real. I just want to just name a couple things. So
hater neighbors.
right, the corporate shift to what I affectionately call the non-profiteers. Let's not get it
Yes.
twisted, right? As opposed to grassroots relatives who are working in the street, like City Vitals, like Coalition on Homelessness, like RAP, so many more, Homies SF, right? There's an intention now because those are the ones that they can control, right, with their narrative of carceral solutions. I also want to name that quiet as kept. I'm sure you guys saw it. They brought back Urban Alchemy private police.
Yeah.
So there's no difference between that you know, corporate wealth hoarder and that one, right? The AKA the politricksters. Politricks ain't nothing but a trick.
Yep.
Right. But also, as you know, we do Ruthless Radio on the street, so folks can speak for themselves. At Poor Magazine, you know, we'd say no more about us without us. And one of the things that just came up was people essentially not even being able to sit, stand, rest, or even wait for very long in one location. What Lucas just said is absolutely true. You might think it's an exaggeration. No, they literally constantly are coming and taking everything you have. So you have people kind of just trying to huddle. And then the last thing I have to say, which I know you know, and listeners and viewers may not, but as some of you watched on Poor Magazine, as we're trying to unsell Mother Earth over there and build homefulness, we had relatives who were already there on that so-called private land. And no, we didn't sweep them. They're our folks. And we actually worked with them and they were there and we figured out where they could be and got them into the Homefulness Hotel Fund and this and that and the other. And they came down on us. Those same systems that Lucas just talked about. The hater neighbors called the cops. They called DPW to do a sweep. They called endless code enforcement to try to figure out how to clean, you know, up our bodies right off of that so-called private property. Lucas, anything that people can do as marching orders as we close out?
You know what? We're invest in your time and your money into homefulness, into people like led movement struggle, you know, homeless, formerly homeless, you know, poverty scholars and truth. I mean, this is where the solutions lie. I'm not going to lie. You know, it's a dichotomy, or I should say, it's kind of this paradox of like working in this nonprofit, and it's a good nonprofit I work for, but it's still a nonprofit. What y'all do is, that's the real deal, and like that's where the solutions lie. There's not going to be any government like run housing program that serves the people like Homefulness does. So thanks y'all.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you,
And you
Lucas,
can
for
also
taking the
file
time.
Coalition on Homelessness, also Rap
Yes.
Home. Want to shout out to Paul and to Joe
Yeah.
May and to all the warriors,
Miguel,
Jonathan.
shout outs to Miguel.
Yeah.
Miguel,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucas. We love you. And we're gonna
All right.
close out. We're gonna close out today by hearing the instructions of Greg Castro of the Ramaytush people of that land. Let's not get it twisted. The first form of sweeps the first form of gentrification happened on indigenous relatives who were
Yes.
already here,
Yes.
not having
Oh.
a concept of homelessness that
Right.
was created by colonial terror. So if we can bring that.
Shatuhi, greetings, relatives. I'm very honored to be here today to greet people that remember, at least in part, who they are and how they're supposed to be. My name is Greg Castro. I'm for Carl Lenin, Ramson, and Ramaytush Ohlone, and the culture director for the Association Ramaytush Ohlone, which is the nonprofit that are the caretakers of the Ramaytush culture and heritage here in the San Francisco Peninsula. And so much of what we call Yelamu, which now is called San Francisco, is paved, right? Just like this feel underneath us right now, right? This asphalt, this facade that's been put over Mother Earth. But we know that Mother Earth just sees that as an annoyance, and through that barrier rises up the heart and spirit of Mother Earth, which is what infused our ancestors for thousands of years, and for which daily they celebrated that intimate connection with their homeland. And part of that connection, part of that understanding, coming from the original instructions, the sacred obligations given to all people all across the world, to the place that they came from, to remember that place, and to remember what it means to be from that place. It's a gift. It is not something promised to them, not something they're entitled to. It is a gift that has been given to them from the people that came before, and they remember who they are supposed to gift it after.
Oh, thank you. And just again,
Yes, powerful words.
that was just an excerpt of Greg Castro, Ramaytush Ohlone leader, and a land protector, speaking at the beautiful Homefulness Yelamu opening celebration and ceremony. For more information on that, stay tuned, but you can also look on poormagazine.org/homefulness. This is just the beginning. We will be holding weekly street newsrooms out there starting February 20th. All communities, all houseless and indigenous and poor peoples are welcome to come and speak their truth. All grassroots nonprofits and folks come. It's open to everybody to speak. We'll be having our usual Sliding Scale Cafe, and our survival poetry workshop will also begin February 13th at 1 p.m. So 3390 Cesar Chavez Street, right there at so-called Mission Street in occupied Yelamu, Homefulness. It's a homeless people solution to homelessness.
Oh, so that's all for this edition of Poor People's Radio. To get our complete podcast, you could go to Poor Magazine on SoundCloud or poormagazine.org or wherever you get your podcast from. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, Blue Sky, at Poor Magazine, at Poverty Scholar, or on Poor News Network on YouTube. All power to the people.
Power!